Chuck Baker. Welcome to another episode of Old and New, Analog Living in the Digital Age. Today I want to talk to you about something that you've probably spent a lot of time talking about in your life without even maybe thinking about it. Pens. Everybody has a favorite pen. Think about your favorite pen. Think about how it writes. Think about how it feels in your hand. Think about what you wrote with it. There's a lot of things that go into a favorite pen or the best pen. When I asked people about what makes for the best pen, I get a range of answers. But my favorite one came from my dad. He said, "Chuck, the best pen is the one that works." Now, I don't know what he really meant by that. I think he just meant the one that's around. But I thought it was really profound when I think about all the things that I think about when I think about pens, and that he was really on to more than he thought he was about that. My dad's an electrician by trade, and I used to work with my dad during summers and college breaks, and so I saw different ways that he used pens. One thing he did with pens is he would use a ballpoint pen to write quotes and bids for potential upcoming projects. He probably used a big round stick like this. Other times we would be in residences or commercial buildings finishing up panels, electrical panels, and we would have to label those panels with which circuit went with which breaker. He didn't use a ballpoint pen usually. Typically he would get a Sharpie, a fine point or an ultra fine point. If he didn't have a Sharpie, he would deliberately go out and find one. And sometimes he would even go to the store to buy one. Maybe you didn't know they sell Sharpies at Home Depot and Lowe's. But that's one reason why, is because in the construction trades, the best pen is often a Sharpie. And it was important that he used that Sharpie because of what he was trying to communicate. The Sharpie was best because when somebody went to that electrical panel and looked at it later that month or later that year or years from then, it was going to be really important that he was able to communicate which breaker went with which circuit in the house. The right pen for that was the one that was going to be permanent ink and endure and be legible for people's safety. Literally, people's lives were at stake on the right pen. But as a small business owner, he didn't always use a Sharpie. When he wrote my paychecks, he didn't sign my paychecks in Sharpie. He used a pen. And because it was a financial matter, he even made sure he used blue or black ink in that too. The pens that we use and the right pen for the job matter. And it goes on beyond even my dad and his electrical business. Think about toddlers. Toddlers think about this too. When they are drawing on the wall or drawing on anything, I bet they're thinking about which pen would be best. Which destructive, non-washable marker is going to make the best picture on the wall that will not come out. What about the other day when I went and got my coffee? The barista chose a pen that was the right pen for the job. They asked me what my name was. I said Chuck. They grabbed their Sharpie and they wrote Chuck on there. And you always know that it's your cup when you're there. If you've ever had someone take your drink before because your name wasn't on there, you know that the right pen for the job is really important. Now you can see still that my name, Chuck, is on here. And that's because they used the right pen for the job. Whether or not they spell your name correct always is not the pen's fault, but it's pens at work there. Teachers have favorite pens. You can make any teacher's favorite pen back to school time. You can make their day by getting them all the colors of Flair pens. I got a Flair pen right here too. And think about architects. I got plans for a parking lot here that were drawn in the 1980s. And typically we use computer-aided drafting for these now. And so they're not drawn with pencil or pen anymore, but the same principles of pen and pencil go into the computer-aided drafting that we do now. Line type and quality of line go into the way that architects and engineers think about plans when they're doing it digitally also. And that started with communicating well with line widths and handwriting on these plans here too. So what makes for the best pen mechanically, there's a lot that goes into that. The type of ink, there's water-based inks, there's gel inks, there's oil-based inks, the nib type, this is a clicker too, that's a whole other thing. The nib type and the nib size, there's ballpoints, there's roller balls, there's felt tips, That all goes into the way that the pen writes and the quality of that writing that goes into it. What about the budget? These two pens right here are relatively close in price. So I could even spend more on here, but how much I spend at the store for a big round stick that I'm going to stock the office conference room with, and how much I spend for a nicer pen that I'm going to keep for myself, there's a budgetary concern there that makes it your favorite also. My very favorite pen, my first favorite pen, came to me from my 6th grade teacher. That she gave it to me. It was all metal. It was a Parker pen, a Cross pen, and she gave it to me because I had been the editor of the school newspaper that year. That became my favorite pen, not because it wrote well. I didn't even write with it for a while, but because of the way that it looked and the way that it felt. But there was an intangible quality to that pen, even besides the mechanical. So why do pens matter? Pens matter because we're a communicative species, and we write to communicate. We've been doing it for millennia, and we're going to keep doing it. From the oil cave drawings to Post-it notes. We communicate written, and we do it with pens. So next time you pick up your favorite pen to do your job or to write a letter to your grandma, I'll pick up that pen, and you'll marvel at the technology and the design inside of it that gives it the right line thickness and the smoothness with the writing. Whether it's cheap and you had it on hand, or whether it's been a cherished pen with you for years, and the weight of that makes you feel just good. I hope you'll think about those things and be glad that you have one that just works, to use my dad's words again. That's all for this time on Old and New. I hope you join me next time when we talk about probably the stack of notebooks and the history of paper. Until then, keep being curious. I'm Chuck Baker.